France was in for a surprise after weeks of expecting a far-right win. The other extreme end of the spectrum, the far-left alliance, has come on the top. The new Popular Front has become the biggest force in the French parliament with 182 seats, followed by Emmanuel Macron's centrist alliance at 168 seats and the far right in third place with 143 seats. Remember, this is the same party that came first in the first round of elections. Despite placing third, the results were historic for the National Rally. The far right party had just 88 seats in the earlier parliament. The party wasn't expected to win an absolute majority even in the opinion polls, but it was still expected to come at the top of the list. And that was until the left and centre agreed to a pre-poll strategy. The two factions asked their third-place candidates to step down, remember, and that didn't let the anti-right votes from dividing, and hence shaping up the new parliament.
The quagmire that I warned about has of course come true. France will be totally blocked with three groups that have more or less the same influence in the National Assembly. Well, we are going towards that. It's sad. We're losing one more year of unregulated immigration, one more year of losing purchasing power, one more year of blowing up of insecurity in our country. But if we need to go through that, then we'll go through that.
And with that, the future is looking quite uncertain for France. The parliament is likely to be divided into three major blocs: the left, centrists and the far right. With no one reaching the majority mark of 289, France is staring at a hung parliament. It could now take weeks to establish a government. Emmanuel Macron is still going to be the president because in France, parliamentary and presidential elections take place separately. Macron still has about 3 more years in office, and according to France's constitution, the president chooses the prime minister. Centrist Gabriel Attal had taken office just this January but offered to resign after his party lost the majority in this election. However, with no party or alliance with the majority, Macron has asked Attal to stay on as the prime minister, at least for the time being. It is unclear who will become the next prime minister at the moment. The left alliance, however, is expected to name their prime ministerial candidate later this week.
Our country is experiencing an unprecedented political situation and is preparing to welcome the world in a couple of weeks. That said, I will of course do my duties as long as it's needed. It cannot be otherwise on the eve of a date that is so important for our country.
Now, the political uncertainty mirrored the situation on the streets. Protesters gathered after Sunday's elections just like the first round. Supporters from the far right clashed with the hard left. Fireworks were also set off, following which police fired tear gas to disperse the crowd. Now, amid fear of political uncertainty, listen into how the French have reacted to the election mandate.
The same happened at the presidential elections. First, RN was leading, and then it didn't happen. It's because France doesn't like the extremes. Let's hope Mélenchon won't become the prime minister, because people are afraid of far left and far right. At least I'm afraid of it. Let's see what's next.
I think the situation is worrying everyone at the moment. But what's more worrying is the fact that the state doesn't necessarily respect the lives of the French people by adopting certain strategies to create blocs, etc. In the end, the National Assembly today doesn't necessarily represent the vote of the French people, but simply represents a state strategy.
In my opinion, the various parties should be able to. We can see that there is some sort of equality in the various results. They should create projects together and move forward together, because it shows that France is fairly evenly divided.
Worried because a number of things have been announced, notably the Popular Front platform. We'll see whether they're applied or not, but there are certain measures that are simply unthinkable. On paper, raising the minimum wage to 1,600 euros net per month might satisfy some people. In practice, for companies, it's simply unworkable. It's a 15% increase in the minimum wage in one fell swoop.
All right, now Europe was looking at the elections in France very closely, and here's how world leaders reacted to the mandate in France. Polish Prime Minister expressed his happiness on far right's loss in the elections. Prime Minister Donald Tusk said that the results made Warsaw quote-unquote happy, resulting in disappointment for Russia and relief in Ukraine. Spanish Prime Minister hailed France's rejection of the far right. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said that France opted a social left that tackles people's problems with serious and brave policies. The European Commissioner for Economy expressed his happiness with the French expression that translates to "Long live Republic." While the left has surpassed the count of the right and the centrist, it is far short of the 289 seats needed to control the assembly, which means France at present is staring at a hung parliament. While not uncommon in other European countries, remember, modern France has never had a legislature with no dominant party. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.